Hey there, lovelies. This is Andrea, your 40-year-old bride, here to bring you the very best in dating, engagement, wedding, marriage tips. Everything in love and all that. Just because when I got married at 40, I was looking for this kind of content for 40-year-olds, and it just wasn't out there. Everything was for like the 20-ish-year-old young blushing bride. And the 40-year-old independent woman, first time get married types, I believe there are a lot of us out there and people give us credit for. So we're not crazy. We're just very career driven, smart, ambitious, lovely, beautiful women who just decided to wait for all kinds of reasons, so sometimes waiting is better. All right, anyway, that's the premise of the channel, The 40-Year-Old Bride, and today I just want to chat through why I chose an alias as my branding name, and I will explain all this. My previous name, my maiden name, was Smith, and it was really cool because I started a business and my initials spelled ads like advertising, ADS, and so that's in the realm of the space of what I do, marketing and branding. So that was a really fun, wonderful, fortunate double entendre I got to do, the ADS agency. Oh, I just realized I took my ring off. This is just my wedding band, okay. FYI, in case you're like, where's her rock? It's wedding band mode only today. Anyway, back to business. It made a lot of sense when my business name was the ADS agency, and it still is. But now my new legal last name, which I did change legally, is Johnson. So think about it. Smith is very common, but it made sense for my business, right? ADS, you can actually see it kind of backwards there over there in the camera. That made a lot of sense. But ADJ, I mean, you can't really do a lot with ADJ. That's like adjunct professor, it stands for. Whatever else you can think of that ADJ stands for, didn't have the right same kind of effect. I thought about it and I was like, if I have to go by a different name in public, as in Johnson, like why could I not potentially go with a name from a marketing and branding standpoint that's more Googleable, searchable, friendly, because there's a million billion Andrea Johnsons just like there are a million billion Andrea Smiths. And so my husband goes by TheoJohn on his Instagram and all that because his middle name is Theodore and his last name is Johnson. So he did a lovely portmanteau, little word mashup with his middle and last name and came up with TheoJohn, which I thought was so cool. And even if he ever branches off and does his own agency and such, I always thought it should be named Mark TheoJohn. And so that's his name on all his socials. But my name on my socials is now Andrea TheoJohn because I asked him if he minded if I kind of went by that alias as a go-to market branding kind of a name for myself. So since I'm in the business world, I do a lot of networking, there's a lot of functions and such, I might speak somewhere. Andrea TheoJohn, A, is sexy, if I dare say so myself. It's unique. By the way, if you hear a little bell ringing, those are my dogs trying to go outside. So I'll introduce you to them later. I'm sure they'll find their way up here. It just has a unique ring to it. You don't hear that a lot. People hear it and they're like, does that mean you're Haitian? Does that mean... I've heard all kinds of stuff now when they hear TheoJohn. And so I like that, right? Because that's unique and it's different and it stands out. And so it doesn't mean that I don't love my legal last name. It just was an opportunity, as I saw it, a marketing branding opportunity to rebrand myself if I must do that. I thought this was a better angle to go with. So it's an experiment, honestly. This is an experiment. I have been married, let's see, October. Oh my gosh. I've been married for 10 months. Almost a year. And so it's been an interesting journey just renaming myself, and there's so much to changing your name I can't even get into right now, but I just know it just keeps popping up in so many places. There's so many places your name is beyond your driver's license, passport, all those basics that you must have changed over. It's just everywhere. So it is a little beast to change over your name. It is another beast to go by an alias, so to speak. So is that even legal? Can you go by an alias? Yes, you can. People do it all the time. And when I thought about it, I was like, let me think of all the people I know in my life who go by a nickname of sorts or an alias of sorts or even a different last name. And I can think of several examples. I have a friend, Nina Alexis. She goes by that as her business marketing name now. She just changed that, and now she named her agency, which is also a marketing firm, the Alexis Agency. There's somebody I know in Greenville whose name I won't say, but it's a completely different name than what she actually goes by. And so that's her first name that has been different all her life. And people think of that as her legal, real first name, but it's not her legal, real first name. It's just where it is everywhere as a speaker and everything else. So is it possible to have an alias? Yes. Is it legal to have an alias? Yes. It happens all the time. It's just so people realize that it's not for all the bad reasons, So you're not making an alias to avoid the law or avoid taxes or something crazy like that. It's just a different name to go by. So once I realized I actually had examples in my life for that, real life examples of real world people, in addition to real life examples of out of reach people, your celebrities and all that, who change up their names and everything, I was like, yeah, okay, it's possible. We can potentially do that. And so luckily the people in my life, family and all that, they kind of realized I'm a little different. So when people realized I was changing my last name in two ways, a new legal last name in addition to an alias last name, I think they kind of were like, okay, that's just Andrea, So no one was like, oh my God, girl, you can't do that. So it's all good. So I have lived in that world for 10 months of changing my name. What has it been like since I've lived in this world of a new last name and a new alias last name? Again, I still see my old name, my old maiden name pop up everywhere. So I'm always fine. It's like whack-a-mole. You're like always trying to change up that name wherever you see it, to get everything aligned and straightened and refreshed and changed out to the new stuff. So there's that. But in addition to that, you have to help people think of who you are now. Think of who you are now, because for years they've had ingrained your maiden name in their head. And I think the older we are, the more established we are, which is another reason why I wanted to control my brand, because it's not like I'm at the beginning of my career, no one knows me anyway. This is who I've been my whole professional life. So changing that name now has to make sense for me. I'm just so glad that my husband was open to that. He wasn't like completely 100% against it. I think he's happy that the legal last name has changed. I think he would have been happy whatever I decided. I think he's secretly happy the last name legally changed. And then the alias, it was his idea because he goes by it on social media. So I think it's cute. It works. It works for me. It's Googleable, searchable, friendly. It's unique in the business world. You hear it. Not everyone's got that last name. So, it's not a common last name that you hear. So can you make up your own last name? Yes. Did I try to get my husband to also share the same made up last name with me? Yes, I did. Did it work? No, it didn't. And I think that's because men never have to think of their names changing. It's just not in our culture. They're never brought up thinking one day my name will be different. They know going all throughout their life, their name is going to be the name their mother gave them at birth, lest they legally change it for some reason. So it was worth a shot. I was like, celebrities do it. We can be boss like celebrities. No, he wasn't thinking about it. I think he likes being called Mark Johnson. It rolls for him. It works for him. It is his brand that he's had for years and years and years, just like my name was. But since I've had this interesting opportunity, as I love to see it, an opportunity to change up my brand, then I chose to embrace it and make it my own. So that's why I went with the alias deal. All right, does it make sense? Again, people are still getting confused. They do get confused. They forget. They say the old name, and that will happen. That's just like if you change the name of a company. People are going to say the old name for a long time. They just will. And they're going to think of the old colors and the old branding and all that. They just will, because it's been ingrained in them. You've been for years pushing, this is the marketing brander in me, you've been pushing that brand their way in that manner for years and years, sometimes decades and beyond. And to change it up doesn't happen overnight, right? It takes time to shift perspectives and perceptions in people's heads. Similarly, for a woman's name, if you made it to your 40s like me and are getting married for the first time, or maybe it's your second or third or whatever, if you're changing your name, that is a shift in perspective and perception for people. So it takes time. It takes time. I don't expect everyone to get it down right, but people are making a conscious effort. The people who work with me all the time are making a very conscious effort to respect the new alias, knowing the legal side. So if they know me well, they know the legal side, and those who are rolling with my alias are doing that. And I've noticed a few people who are just holding out and either are refusing to call me by my alias and going by my own legal last name. And I think that is an attempt to honor the husband, as if I am some way perhaps dishonoring him by choosing an alias for my last name publicly. That is what it is. I have to ask those people directly to find out for sure. It's just what I think. Then you'll get all of that. And am I happy at the end of the day? Am I happy with my decision? Do I like it? Yes. I like the way the name sounds. I like how it rolls off the tongue. I like the uniqueness of it. I like the Googleability, searchability for it. If you don't want to be found, you don't have a reason to be found, you're not in business or you're not trying to speak or whatever, don't worry about it. But for those of us who do want to be found and our careers matter and all that, if you're going to change your name and you have established a career and a brand for yourself or a business or a brand or otherwise, then do it with purpose. Do it with purpose. Do it with something that you are happy with, whether you were married or not, is how I feel. So do you like your name and do you like how it sounds and does it suit you? It's kind of how I feel about that. Ask me in a year. Maybe my whole thoughts will change. Oh, pause. Couple things. On LinkedIn, Twitter, and a couple other places, Facebook, you'll notice, and I'll show you here on your screen, that my name says Andrea TheoJohn, and in some places it'll say Legally John's in parentheses, like a side note, footnote, Legally Johnson, formerly Smith. Okay, and that is to help people realize who you are, because when you change your name overnight, a lot of people don't even realize for a while that you got married. People further out in your network, they weren't invited to the wedding, you don't see them, talk to them all the time, they're just out there in your sphere. It takes them a while to realize you got married. A lot of times, and I've gotten this comment, a lot of people will come back and say, I had to look at you twice because I was like, that lady looks familiar, looking at my picture on their feed, scrolling through Facebook or wherever they are. That lady looks familiar, but the last name, I was like, who is that? So they had to go and look and say, oh, that's Andrea. And so you're helping them by putting that little footnote in your bios, Legally Johnson, formerly Smith, or something like that. Even if you choose an alias like I did, or even if you don't, putting that little formerly blank, filling your maiden name, formerly maiden name as your surname. When you put that in there, it helps people put two and two together rather than just kind of ripping the rug from underneath them and saying, boom, here I am. It helps them in that transition. So you will be transitioning for a while. I believe I will be transitioning for a while, as I still am 10 months later, and I probably will still be a year plus from now, God willing. I believe the more you can help people with that transition, the better. And you're not making it embarrassing for them. You're putting it out there so people don't have to remember your new last name. They can just see it there on your Zoom or wherever you are digitally. And of course, if you're in the personal world, you've got a name badge or business cards and all that to help people. You're trying to help people not be embarrassed because they don't remember what you want to be called. And also help people start getting that new name in their heads, especially the ones who deal with you a lot and see you every day and are used to working with you all the time. Those are the people that you want to start with, because helping them transition is harder than helping new people transition, right? Because the new people are just going to be whatever you told them your name is. So, all right, that is it, my dears. Pick a name that you love. You love the name, the sound of it, the way it rolls off your tongue, all of that. It suits you. It's searchable friendly if that matters to you. And also, it's unique for you and it's something you like. And help people with your transition to your new name. So make it easy for them, especially on your digital profiles. You can put that formerly formerly Johnson, formerly Smith, legally Johnson, or whatever your little byline should be. And that can be helpful as well. All right, so make it easy for people. Those are my quick little tips. So what quick tips do you have about name changes and aliases if you happen to be in alias world like me? I like to say it's DBA, doing business as, like businesses do. If you've ever seen that. If you're not familiar with that, that's where a business has a legal name. Like Whole Foods, for example. This isn't their real legal name. I'm just making it up. But Whole Foods legally could be called LJ Holdings, after the founder owner who has several other companies. It could be under the umbrella of LJ Holdings or something, but the doing business as name, the name they go to market with, the name that the public sees, that name that's on all their branding is Whole Foods. So similarly, it's like a DBA for me, doing business as. All right, that is it, my dear. So share with me your experiences below. Did you change your last name, ladies? Maybe guys. Maybe there is a guy somewhere who changed his last name. I supposedly have a brother-in-law who said he was going to change his last name for so many reasons, which I'll not share here, but that could be for another day. All right, my dear, thank you so much. Again, this is Andrea, your 40-year-old bride. So happy to be here with you as always. And you can check out the podcast and the blog at 40yearoldbride.com. You can also find me at Andrea TheoJohn on Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, all those places, my dear. Find me, come say hello, and I will see you next time. Bye.